You know, Aziz, one thing that often goes unspoken is how trust changes with life stages. What we expect from friends at 20 is very different from what we need at 40.
Absolutely. In early adulthood, friendship is often about shared energy and time, but later it becomes about emotional safety and understanding silence.
I've noticed that as responsibilities grow, conversations become shorter but more meaningful. A 5-minute call can sometimes carry more weight than hours of casual talk.
That's because trust matures. You don't need constant reassurance when trust is already established.
There's also an unspoken grief when friendships drift apart without conflict. No fight, no betrayal, just distance.
That kind of loss is harder to process because there's no clear ending. The trust remains, but the connection slowly fades.
Many people blame themselves when that happens. They wonder what they did wrong.
But often, nothing went wrong. Growth doesn't always move in the same direction for everyone.
A sociological study once pointed out that most adults replace nearly 50% of their close friends every 7 years. That statistic surprised me.
It surprised me too, but it explains why nostalgia feels so strong. We miss not just people, but versions of ourselves.
Trust also plays a role in how deeply we let new people in. Past experiences shape future openness.
Yes, and that's why trust is cumulative. Each experience either strengthens or weakens our willingness to trust again.
Some people say, "I trust easily," but I think that's often optimism rather than trust. True trust is informed.
It's built after observation, not assumption.
Have you noticed how trust reveals itself in small moments, like keeping a secret or showing up on time?
Small actions are powerful indicators. Trust grows in the ordinary, not the dramatic.
There's also the concept of emotional availability. A friend may be loyal, but emotionally distant.
And emotional distance can slowly erode trust, even without intentional harm.
I once had a friend who was always present physically, but never emotionally. It felt lonely despite company.
That's a common experience. Emotional presence is what transforms proximity into connection.
Trust also means allowing disagreement without fear of abandonment.
Healthy friendships don't require agreement on everything. They require respect during disagreement.
In fact, research suggests that friendships with healthy conflict tend to last longer.
Because conflict handled well reinforces trust instead of breaking it.
Another challenge is comparison. Comparing friendships to others' relationships often leads to dissatisfaction.
Comparison creates unrealistic expectations. Every friendship has its own rhythm.
Do you think trust is influenced by culture?
Very much so. Some cultures emphasize collective trust, while others prioritize personal boundaries.
That explains why misunderstandings happen across cultural friendships.
Yes, trust must be translated, not assumed.
There's also the idea of transactional friendships, connections based on benefit rather than bond.
Those relationships can function, but they rarely provide emotional safety.
And when the benefit disappears, so does the friendship.
Which is why trust based on shared humanity lasts longer than utility.
One overlooked aspect of trust is listening. Being heard without judgment builds deep bonds.
Listening validates existence. It tells the other person you matter.
In a fast-paced world, listening has become a rarity.
And because of that rarity, it has become extremely valuable.
Trust is also tested during success. Not everyone celebrates your growth genuinely.
Jealousy can quietly damage trust if not addressed honestly.
That's why emotional maturity matters in friendships.
Maturity allows space for both joy and insecurity without blame.
I believe friendships should feel like safe places, not performance stages.
Exactly. Trust removes the need to impress.
Another reality is that some people struggle with trust because they never experienced it early in life. Childhood environments heavily influence adult trust patterns. Psychologists often link secure friendships to secure attachment styles. But the good news is that trust can be learned even later in life. It requires patience and self-reflection.
And sometimes professional guidance, which should never be stigmatized.
Let's talk about forgiveness again, but from a deeper angle.
Forgiveness is not forgetting. It's choosing peace over resentment.
And trust after forgiveness often looks different.
Yes, trust becomes more intentional and cautious.
I've learned that it's okay to downgrade access without cutting people off completely.
That's a mature approach. Not all friendships need to end dramatically,
Distance can sometimes preserve respect.
and forced closeness can destroy it.
Do you think men struggle more with expressing trust issues?
In many societies, yes, men are often taught to suppress vulnerability.
Which makes conversations like this even more important.
Exactly. Normalizing emotional dialogue builds healthier friendships.
Another thing, trust is often tested during money matters.
Financial boundaries are crucial. Mixing money and friendship requires clarity.
Unspoken expectations around money often lead to resentment.
Transparency prevents misunderstanding.
Trust also means respecting privacy.
Confidentiality is non-negotiable in deep friendships,
Breaking confidentiality can permanently damage trust.
and rebuilding it takes significant effort, if it's possible at all.
As we age, we also learn that not everyone deserves full access to our lives.
Trust should be earned, not rushed.
I think friendship is less about longevity and more about alignment. A short but sincere friendship can be more meaningful than a long but hollow one. Trust also shows up in how friends speak about you when you're not present.
That's one of the truest tests of trust.
If someone protects your reputation in your absence, that's real loyalty.
And that loyalty builds unshakable trust.
There's beauty in friendships that allows silence.
Silence without discomfort is a sign of deep trust.
Sometimes just sitting together is enough. Presence speaks louder than words. We should also acknowledge that rebuilding trust takes courage on both sides.
Yes, the one who trusts again and the one who proves change both take risks.
Trust isn't static, it's alive.
And like anything alive, it needs care.
Friendship teaches us about ourselves.
It reflects our values, fears, and growth.
I believe friendships are mirrors, not just companions.
They show us who we are becoming.
As we move toward closing this conversation, one thought stays with me.
Which is?
That trust is not about perfection, it's about intention and effort. And friendship thrives where effort is mutual. You know, Aziz, something else that often gets overlooked is how trust affects our ability to rest. When you trust the people around you, your mind feels lighter.
That's very true. Emotional safety allows the nervous system to relax, and friendships rooted in trust often feel like quiet shelter.
I've noticed that with trusted friends, there's no pressure to perform or explain yourself repeatedly.
Because trust removes the fear of being misunderstood, you're allowed to simply exist as you are.
There's also a difference between being alone and feeling lonely. Trusted friendships reduce loneliness even when contact is infrequent.
Exactly. Loneliness isn't about absence of people, it's about absence of connection.
Some friendships feel energizing, while others feel draining.
And often the difference lies in trust. Where trust is missing, emotional labor increases.
That's when people start censoring themselves.
Yes, and self-censorship slowly erodes authenticity.
I think one of the most powerful things a friend can say is, "You don't have to explain."
That sentence carries deep trust. It signals acceptance without conditions.
Friendships like that don't happen overnight.
They are built through patience, shared vulnerability, and time.
And once experienced, they change how you see all other relationships.
They raise the standard for connection.
Maybe that's why losing a trusted friend hurts so deeply.
Because you're not just losing a person, you're losing a safe space.
But even then, the experience teaches us what's possible.
And reminds us that trust, once felt, is always worth seeking again.
Aziz, something else I've been thinking about is how trust shapes our self-confidence. When someone believes in you consistently, it quietly strengthens your sense of worth.
That's true. Trust from a friend often becomes a mirror, reflecting back a version of ourselves we sometimes forget.
I've seen people take bold steps simply because one friend said, "I've got your back."
Those words carry weight. They reduce fear and make uncertainty feel manageable.
Trust also teaches us how to show up for others, not just how to receive support.
Yes, it creates responsibility. When someone trusts you, you become more mindful of your actions.
There's a quiet discipline in protecting a friend's trust.
And that discipline builds character over time.
I think trust is revealed most clearly during moments of choice. when no one is watching and you still choose loyalty. Those choices don't always feel dramatic, but they define relationships
More than grand promises ever could.
Another thing is emotional timing. Trust grows when friends know when to speak and when to simply listen.
Sensitivity to timing shows emotional intelligence.
Sometimes the most supportive response is silence.
Silence that says, I'm here.
Friendship also requires forgiveness of small human flaws.
Perfection isn't the goal. Understanding is.
That understanding allows friendships to breathe.
And breathing relationships last longer.
In that sense, trust is not something we demand,
It's something we cultivate, slowly and intentionally.
and when cultivated well, it becomes one of life's greatest stabilizers.
A steady presence in an uncertain world.
Aziz, I've realized that trust in friendship also influences how honest we are with ourselves. When someone sees us clearly and still accepts us, self-denial slowly fades.
That acceptance creates emotional permission. It allows people to acknowledge weaknesses without feeling diminished.
Trusted friendships often become spaces where growth happens naturally, not through pressure, but through gentle reflection. A friend's quiet honesty can be more powerful than loud advice.
Yes, because it comes from care, not control. When trust exists, even difficult truths feel supportive rather than threatening.
I've noticed that friendships built on trust don't require constant reassurance. There's a shared understanding that silence doesn't mean distance.
That understanding reduces anxiety. It replaces overthinking with calm confidence in the relationship.
Another thing is emotional resilience. Knowing someone is consistently there makes life's uncertainties easier to face.
It creates a sense of grounding. Even when circumstances change, trusted friendships provide stability.
Trust also shapes how we recover from failure. A supportive friend reframes setbacks as learning, not shame.
That reframing is powerful. It keeps people moving forward instead of withdrawing.
In many ways, friendships are silent teachers. They show us patience, empathy, and accountability through experience.
And trust is the language those lessons are taught in. Without it, the message is lost.
As life becomes more complex, I think people increasingly value emotional safety over constant companionship. Fewer conversations, but deeper ones.
That depth is where trust truly lives. It doesn't need constant proof, only consistent presence.
Perhaps that's the quiet goal of friendship, not to fill every moment, but to steady the important ones.
And to remind us during uncertain times that we are not navigating life alone.
Aziz, something else worth reflecting on is how trust influences patience in friendship. When trust is strong, misunderstandings don't immediately feel like threats.
That's an important point. Trust gives relationships time to breathe instead of reacting impulsively.
I've seen friendships survive difficult phases simply because both people believed in each other's intentions. That belief softens conversations, even when emotions run high.
Yes, assuming good intent changes everything. It transforms conflict from a battle into a discussion.
Trust also affects how we handle disappointment. A trusted friend can express frustration without causing lasting damage.
Because honesty feels safer when respect is already established.
There's also the role of consistency. Showing up in small, ordinary ways builds more trust than rare, dramatic gestures.
Consistency creates predictability, and predictability creates emotional safety.
Many friendships fail not because of major issues, but because of repeated neglect. Silence slowly replaces connection.
That's true. Trust weakens when effort becomes one-sided.
I think strong friendships allow room for change. People grow, priorities shift, and trust adapts. Adaptability is crucial.
Rigid expectations often break relationships.
When trust exists, friends don't compete, they support. Success doesn't threaten the bond.
Instead, it strengthens it. One person's growth becomes shared joy.
In the end, friendship isn't about constant agreement or availability.
It's about reliability, respect, and choosing each other again and again.
If this conversation resonated with you, please like this video, share it with a friend you trust, and leave a comment about your own experiences with friendship.
And for more calm, thoughtful conversations like this, subscribe to ShadowTalk Studio and stay connected with us.
Thank you for watching. Keep learning with ShadowTalk Studio.